Welcome to another episode of the Make Mental Health Matter show. I am your host, Kelly Melissa Reinhart. And with every episode, I'm super excited for you to be back, or maybe you are watching this for the very first time. So I appreciate you being here, whether you are listening or you are watching. I say we like I'm multiple people, but I am really just so excited with the level of engagement that we've received and also the amount of listeners on Dream Vision 7 radio and also on E360 TV, those of you that are really watching. The whole goal of the show is to bring you people resources, letting you know that everybody really has a story wherever they've come from, whatever experience they've gone through, and they're all willing to come on the show to share their experiences so that you don't feel like you're alone in this thing that we call life. And we also have to understand that there are certain experiences that we go through that we never ever planned, of course, to be within that experience, but it's made us stronger when we come out of whatever happened, whether it was a trauma or you had a life threatening thing happen to you, or maybe you are just in this place that you need some support, some help. And that's really the best part about this is all my guests bring their experience and showcase what they've been through and how they lived through it. And now they're even stronger in a bigger, better, impacting more lives place currently. And that goes with my guest for today. I've actually had him on the show multiple times, so I'm super excited to have him back. And he's going to share a little bit about his story, but I would definitely tell you to go back and watch the other couple episodes that he's been on. But he's just getting bigger and better, and he's a superhero in what he does on a daily basis and impacting so many people's lives at a whole different level based off of the experiences he's been through. So, without further ado, my guest is Chris D.T. Gordon. He is a faithful husband, father of three, online middle school special education teacher, professional speaker, author, runner, martial artist, and pop culture geek. He is also a survivor of a life threatening disease who uses his story and message to inspire and motivate others to overcome the challenges with gratitude, positivity, and resilience and achieve their greatness on their own terms. So, without further ado, Chris, thank you so much for joining me again.
Kelly, it's my pleasure entirely. And I will put myself in with that you so we can become we because I want to help people as well. And so don't feel bad about saying we. I'm there with you.
8 million.
I don't know why I just clicked all buttons. We're going crazy.
The buttons are with us too. Oh,
Right.
the technical overlords are falling into place.
One of those days, apparently, my fingers are clicky. Um, Thank you, because I say we, and I'm like, am I two people? Like it's my mouse on my shoulder. It's fine.
You can have six with you right
There you
here.
go.
This
Yeah.
is six, the stormtrooper. I call him six because I found him at a garage sale and they paid the guy $6.
Oh, hey, that works perfect.
Yes.
Well, I would love for you to share just, and I know I briefly, like, if you haven't heard Chris's story, again, I would highly recommend the last couple of episodes that you have been on. Go back and watch those. But for those that don't know you yet, can you share just a little bit more about your story and your journey?
Certainly, Kelly. And again, thank you so much for having me today. In 2015, I was a seemingly average and ordinary 40-year-old husband and father of three. My wife, Becky, and I live here in New Ulm, Minnesota, with our three young kids. Josh was 6 at the time, and the twins, Seth and Anna, were 2. One day, I helped her get the kids into the car, into the van, so she could take them to daycare and school. Well, I helped out by flying one of the twins to our detached garage. and it was not really cold out, so I didn't have gloves on. And this is March 18th, 2015. So you have an idea. So I'm flying them back and forth. I veer too far to the right and scrape the back of my right hand on my garage wall. Now, Kelly, when's the last time you scraped your hand?
Last week.
Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time. I scraped my hand yesterday, doing a number of things. It happens routinely. Well, the effects of that scratch were by no means routine. 3 days later, I wake up to find a lacrosse ball sized bump on my elbow. I go to the urgent care clinic in town, and the doctor looks at it and says, "Well, it could be bursitis, which is an inflammation of the bursa sac in your joints, but keep an eye on it and let us know if anything happens." So, being a good patient, I went home and kept an eye on it as that bump grew and grew and grew until my right arm was 3 times the size of my left. I like to equate it to being the Incredible Hulk in mid transformation. Yeah, left side being puny Banner, right side being angry, smashy Hulk. Though at the time, I wasn't feeling angry or smashy. I was more sicky and tiredy. Becky found a babysitter for the kids, and she drove me to the emergency room where they admitted me quickly and then started taking my blood pressure and vitals. And then they found, oh, you also have sepsis. So you got the daily double, my friend. And for those who don't know what sepsis is, it's a basically five cent definition. It's a reaction that the body has to a foreign agent, but one of the reactions is it can send a chemical into your bloodstream that could eventually kill you. So I had poison coursing through my veins and an enormous right arm. Admittedly, not the craziest Saturday night I ever experienced, but easy top five. I mean, it's right up there with Mardi Gras and things I won't talk about right now. Anyway, they keep me overnight for observation. And then the following morning, that doctor tells me something I will never forget, Kelly. She said, "Mr. Gordon, this is beyond us. We can do nothing more for you here. Where do you want to go?" Well, I'm in Minnesota. Rochester is 2 hours away. And then I say the Mayo Clinic, not only because it's the Mayo Clinic, but also because Becky's parents, Bill and Dee, live in Rochester. So I knew she, the kids, and Max the dog, who was with us at the time, would have a place to stay for the 2 hours. Sure, 2 or 3 days. This would take to resolve itself. Me being a special education teacher with my vast medical knowledge. So I call Becky. I tell her what's going to happen. They fly me to Rochester, and it's in the St. Mary's Hospital, which is the flagship building for Mayo Clinic in Rochester. It's there where they diagnosed me with necrotizing fasciitis, also known as flesh-eating bacteria. So as soon as they know what's going on, they wheel me in to my first of, as it turns out, 15 surgeries. Many of those surgeries took place in the first week of my hospitalization. Unbeknownst to me, they put me in a medically induced coma, which had me out for 5 days. And in that time, they removed all the infected skin and tissue from the back of my right hand, all the way through my arm, up to my shoulder, to the base of my neck, down through my chest, around my rib cage, and up through my back. When they removed all that infected skin and tissue, they realized that the infection had gone so far into my right hand that they basically planned to amputate. They even told Becky this: we're going to take the arm in the second surgery. Well, obviously, spoiler alert, they didn't, because the attending occupational therapist in the surgery saw that I still had hand function. So what they elected to do was remove a 15-inch by 4-inch flap of skin from my left thigh, skin and tissue, and place it on my right hand and forearm. And so, since this is my thigh on my hand, I lovingly call this my thand. Copyright pending. So now this is where my story turns into a version of when you give a mouse a cookie. When you solve one problem, another problem presents itself. Well, sure, I still have my right arm, but now my left leg has a gaping hole in it. I was going to say my left hole has a gaping leg in it. That'd be interesting. Anyway, well, they can't close it normally. So they take out one of my quadricep muscles, my vastus lateralis, and then install a shoestring type contraption called a Jacob's ladder on the inside of the wound and knobs on either side of the wound that they would tighten over time to close the wound. And then there was the issue of all this exposed muscle and tendons and ligaments up on my right side. So they took a skin graft harvester, which basically, if you gave a cheese slicer steroids, you would get this monstrosity that they ran up and down my legs and my back to get enough harvestings to cover up that exposed skin and tissue. And again, most of those surgeries happen in that 5-day span. So finally, I wake up. I'll skip past the humorous moment when I thought it was Tuesday and it was Friday and I was freaking out. And I start coming to terms with my new reality, my second chance. I'm in the hospital bed. I am covered by a ginormous cast on my right arm. It's big and yellow, and it weighs at least a good 20 pounds. My left leg is bandaged. I can't see it. Unbeknownst to me, I'm hooked up to a catheter. And then I didn't realize it for another almost week before I tried to get up, and I realized, oh, I am attached to this bed. I'm not going anywhere. That's a whole other issue. But I'm looking at myself as much as I can see, and I start wondering, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? How am I going to function as a dad, a husband, a teacher, a friend, a family member? How was I going to handle everyday stresses and then the bigger issues that come up? What's our financial situation going to be? Because as you can probably guess, a world-class hospital has world-class bills. So I have all of these questions to which I have no answers. I call this my personal bacteria. Doctors took care of all the bad physical bacteria, but that personal bacteria will start to ruminate in my mind and send me down a negative spiral. And I was able to put on a smile and crack a joke with the nurses and people who came to see me, but it was underneath there until during one of her visits, my wife Becky comes into the room and she starts telling me about how everyone in our various social circles was stepping up to help us. Our neighbors were shoveling our walkways, snow blowing our driveway. We had people keeping an eye on the house because New Ulm is not a big town. And the term flesh eating bacteria spreads as quickly as the actual bacteria does. Everyone knew our situation. People in Rochester were stopping by Bill and Dee's house to drop off toys and food and clothing to play with the kids. My brother from Michigan, and I am legally obligated to show you where in Michigan he lives. He flew from Muskegon all the way to the Twin Cities and then took a shuttle down to Rochester and spent a week and a half with us, sometimes sleeping overnight in the hospital just so he can get the latest news on my condition. And then he also ends up buying me an iPad, which played a huge part in my recovery. There was even someone from Becky's high school from when she was a student that started a GoFundMe account that raised more than enough money to cover the lost wages from my absence because I had run out of sick days well before I was able to return. In fact, I ended up missing the entire last quarter of the school year because of this. When Becky told me all of these fantastic things that people were doing for us, I could literally feel that personal bacteria wash away. And I was left with what I now call the attitude of gratitude. And I didn't call it that at first, but I felt myself shift internally. And it started with asking myself three new questions. And the first question was, what good things do I have in my life? And so, Kelly, I'm going to ask you, if I ask you that question, which I'm going to, what would you say about the good things you have in your life?
My family and being able to impact lives through my nonprofit.
Yeah, and those are beautiful things, and they're also big things. And that's what I thought about too. I thought about my family, my faith, my friends, my job, my home. But then I started thinking about what about those small things? What about those seemingly insignificant parts of our lives that really bring us those daily doses of joy that keep us from becoming crotchety curmudgeons all the time? And the first thing I thought of when I asked myself that question was the show Daredevil on Netflix. And I know that Daredevil is coming to Disney Plus. He's now part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, if you follow that stuff. But when I was in the hospital, that was when the first season dropped on Netflix. And so using that iPad that Jeff got me, I was able to binge watch the entire season over and over and over again. And let me tell you, when I say the phrase hallway scene, if that has any meaning for you, just know I watched that thing over 100 times.
Well,
There's a scene in episode 2 that is phenomenal. It's a torchbearer for all of her like stunts, stunt sequences. But I kept thinking about really minute aspects of daily life that I could really appreciate. And I found when I started doing that, I found I was richer than I ever conceived before. Like, for example, I'm going to stand up. Simple, everyday occurrence. If you're able to use your legs properly, you're able to stand up. How many parts of your body have to be working properly in order for that to happen? I mean, I have to lean forward, which means I have to kind of tighten my core. I have to engage my quadriceps, my hamstrings, my toes, all those muscles and ligaments. And then I have to be able to hold myself balanced to a point where I can now straighten my legs and become vertical. We overlook so many parts of our lives that could go wrong. I mean, imagine if I tried to get up and my knee wasn't bending. I mean, imagine if you had to suffer through that all the time. But I don't because thankfully my legs work. And think about your car. How many parts of your car have to function in order for you to get from point A to point B? If we start practicing what I call gratuitous gratitude and get extra with our thankfulness and our gratitude, we see that we are just surrounded by wealth, and it has nothing to do with your bank account. And so I'm going to challenge you, Kelly. I want you to find three random things in your space right now that you can tell me that you're thankful for and why you're thankful for them?
Yeah, and I'm gonna do that, but we're gonna go to our quick first sponsored break, and then I'll tell you what those three
Oh, that's
things are.
convenient. All right.
Once
All
we
right,
get
sounds good.
back, we'll be right back.
Hey, it's Chris. I am so thankful you are here with us today. If you want to continue this conversation to see how I can serve your organization or school or business, and I can help those you serve increase their gratitude, positivity, and resilience, please click on the QR code or website down here so we can get that conversation going. If you also want a copy of my book, From Survivor to Striver, How Gratitude Can Transform You into a Superhero, you can click on that QR code or website and order a copy from Amazon, or you can DM me for a personalized autographed copy. No matter what, I hope you make it a great day, and remember to pass on perfection and go for greatness.
8 million people die by suicide in the world each year.
One person dies due to suicide every 40 seconds.
Have you ever felt completely alone?
Like your life doesn't matter.
You are not alone. Call the National Suicide Lifeline at 988.
Hope and recovery is possible.
You can help too.
With only $19 a month, you help us save lives through mental health and suicide prevention education.
Scan the QR code or go to makementalhealthmatter.org to sign up as a warrior for mental health today.
Are you crypto curious? Maybe it's a little too scary for you to get involved in all this crazy Bitcoin cryptocurrency stuff. Join me, your host, Charlie Stivers of Goose Live. Find us on Achieve TV Thursdays, noon Mountain Time, where we talk all things crypto.
And like that, we're back. So if you just happen to be joining the Make Mental Health Matter show, thank you so much for joining in, and make sure you go back and watch the very beginning of this, because Chris shared his story and you don't want to miss hearing why he does what he does now. But before we went to the break, you asked me to find 3 things within my space that I have that I am grateful for. And I probably found more, but I am like you. I love like I have lots. Yes. I have lots of toys. They're over on that side if I showed, but this is one of my favorites. I love Baby Groot. He's like one of my favorite, and he has this little heart, which really makes me happy with his little
very cool.
his hand. I also have this, I'm not sure what it is. I believe it's a fish, but my son made it at one point in time at school. And so I keep that on my desk. And then one of the last things is one of my friends, actually a nonprofit that we partner with, she sent me this crane, and they make these little paper cranes. But it does say, "May you receive comfort," and they write little special things on all of the cranes and send them to people. So those are the things that I found that I'm really grateful for that are in my office.
Very cool. And, I just challenge you, Kelly, and everyone every day just to look around and say, hey, you know what? I am thankful for this item to be in my life. I like to do this with like bolts and nails and screws that hold up pictures in our house, that keep our doors functioning properly. And again, the more you see things that you value around you, the more wealthy you're going to feel. And it might bring a smile to your face that you never thought would ever exist by noticing that item. And so that was the first part. That was the T, the thinking of all the good things in my life. The second question that I asked myself was, how can I acknowledge those I appreciate? And again, when I asked myself that question, the big groups came to mind. I thought of my members of my church and my faith, my family, my friends, my coworkers, and colleagues. But then being in the hospital, my mind went also to the medical staff, the doctors, the specialists, even to the people who delivered room service when I ordered my food, but especially the nurses. Not only were they obviously world class, they work at Mayo, but many of them became my friends. And sometimes, as friends are, they would set me straight if I was being a little ornery, or if I was, I don't think I complained too much, but I always try to be a good patient. But they definitely let me know if my attitude could be improved, and so I greatly appreciate that of them. And this one story I have to share is when you stay in the hospital for a long time, like say over 2 months, which I stayed in the hospital for, they sometimes put up a poster on your wall called the Getting to Know You poster. One of the questions on this poster that they asked me was favorite movie. Now, Kelly, you see I have a stormtrooper behind me. I am flanked by Transformers. I have the Ninja Turtles actually right behind me there. I talked about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So you could probably guess what I said for my all-time favorite movie.
Star Wars?
Blazing Saddles. Now, for those of us of a certain age, that movie is iconic for many different reasons. But I thought of what's a movie I could watch over and over again and not get sick of. And that's what popped in my head first. So I told them to put Blazing Saddles on the poster. Well, a couple weeks later, on a Monday, the head nurse, whose name was also Chris, practically sprinted into the room. She almost knocked over one of my IVs. And she started sputtering and stammering. She said, "Hey, I was at a garage sale this weekend and I saw this. I thought of you, and here it is." She handed me a DVD copy of Blazing Saddles. Now, I'm just a part of her job. I am an item on her extremely long to-do list. But the fact that she thought of me enough to not only recognize that DVD in that box at that garage sale, but she also bought it for me out of her own money makes that copy one of my prized possessions, not because of its market value, but because of the love and friendship in which it was given. And so I look at it and I just smile every time because it was so random. But here she thought of me enough to buy it for me. And I don't think she buys gifts for all of her patients. So maybe I wasn't as ornery as I thought I was when I was there. And so, you know, and I shared that with her, and it made her tear up. How much it meant to me because I think we sometimes forget that when we are living our own lives, that the people with us may not be on the same exact journey. In the commercial break, you gave those statistics about suicide, and you know, there's so many people impacted by that. And sometimes you can be walking next to someone who could be having the worst day of their life, and you wouldn't know. And so sharing your appreciation for them could literally make their day, their month. It could be the one thing that they need to hear at that moment. And so something I also like to do is called the triple A, and it stands for actively augmenting your appreciation of someone. And I do this because, again, we are on our own personal journeys. And some people are with us for many years, some people are with us for a short while. But as our paths cross, we we should have an obligation to ourselves to notice how that person impacts the world in a positive way. And so what I like to do is I like to think of someone in one of my social circles, and I like to momentarily remove them from that social circle because I want to view them without any connection to me, because that's a bit selfish. That's saying, oh, how do they make my life better? I want to see how they make the world at large better without connection to me. And then I think about all the different ways they benefit the world, how they parent, how they do their jobs, how they connect with their friends, what talents they have. And then I put them back into that social circle that we both share. And not only do I revel in appreciation for knowing this fantastic person, but I let them know that I appreciate them for all they do in the world. And I like to use my wife, Becky, as an example. Yes, she's my wife, my partner, my best friend. But when I take her out of that social circle that we share, I see that she is a loving mother, a fantastic sister and daughter, a brilliant teacher, a great athlete, a well-read historian, a very talented musician, and she is as geeky as I am. She just downplays it a lot more than I do. And she's a benefit to the community as a whole. So now I put her back in that social circle that we share, and she's still all of those things. But now, on top of those things, she's also my wife, my partner, my best friend to boot. Every day, I am so thankful that she is in my life because she is definitely my better 95%. And so by letting the people in your life know how much you appreciate them, not for how they help you, but how they help the world, is a beautiful way to let them know that they matter. And it doesn't have to be they are a superhero or they run a huge company. It could be you notice how much they dote on their children. It could be they do a great job at work. It could be you saw them one time open a door for someone. And as much as we wish this would be true, we are not best friends with everyone. In fact, sometimes we are at odds with people. But just because we're not besties with every single person on the planet doesn't mean we can't give that person respect and let them know that they have value, even though we may not see eye to eye on one or many issues. And who knows, maybe by letting that person know that you respect them and you appreciate them for the good they do in the world, maybe you will increase that connection. But you have to start by doing it.
Yeah.
Kelly, I'm going to put you on the spot again. Think of someone in one of your social circles and think about some of the ways they benefit the world without any connection to you.
I was actually my brain was starting to like shift that a little bit when you said it too. And I was like, man, I thought of somebody specifically, and we're going to go to our quick last sponsored break. And when we come back, I'll share that with you. We'll be right back after this.
1,917 people die daily from suicide globally.
I lost my middle sister, Carrie, to a completed suicide on February 20th, 2017.
How does Make Mental Health Matter save lives?
Number 1. Awareness.
My story, however, it isn't unique. I am a domestic violence survivor and a recovering addict. For 14 years, I was in active addiction. And because of Kelli and the work that she does and the opportunity to have my voice heard, I was able to stay clean and sober and have hit a year. I'm still here. And if it wasn't for Kelli answering my call the day that I thought I was going to take my life.
Number 2. Conversation.
I'm curious, and I know that I've heard a lot in the BIPOC community. It is very hush hush. It's like one of those things that you don't talk about. Like, you literally feel like it's not a conversation you can have. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
First, shout out to Kelly, because I'm glad that she asked the question. I researched you before I went on your show, and I saw how real and authentic you were. And I just appreciate the question, because it is different, and we have to have tough, courageous conversations. So yes, I always say I'm a triple diversity threat. I'm a Black woman with multiple disabilities. Now, I'm not really a threat, but to other people, I may be, because people fear the unknown and what they're uncomfortable with.
Number 3, education.
Kelli's passionate commitment to mental health awareness is a beautiful thing. It's clear in her social media posts, it's clear in the resources that she puts together, in the activities that she provides, her collaboration with organizations, and the consistent way that she continues to deliver a message, encouraging people to understand that they can share openly and to break the stigma around mental health. Kelli's topics cover children and adults, talk about things that we can do as a community, things that we can do individually, and her website is packed with information and resources and all kinds of contacts that you can use to reach out, whether you're dealing with something yourself or you're looking to help somebody else who is struggling. I encourage you to check it out.
And like that, we're back. If you happen to be just joining the Make Mental Health Matter show, thank you so much for watching. Chris and I are having wonderful conversations, especially about tag and really showing up. You had asked before we went to a break. You keep setting me up. It's really good.
Timing is impeccable.
To really, I mean, it is interesting to take somebody like out of your social circle and think about who they are outside of that. And this one specific person, I know that she shows up for all of her friends. She's a great mom. She's a great daughter. And she is somebody who just really truly wants to impact humans. She's not exactly sure how specifically to do that yet, but she's really starting down that journey to figure out, like, what does that look like? How can she be supportive for others? Because she was in a really bad place in her life with her ex, with her previous marriage. And so I know that she's an all around just good human who wants to be understood and seen. And so taking her out of our social circle and then putting her back in. And I know I've thought about this actually with several people, which was really interesting that you had brought it up, because it's not all about us, right? Like, yes, they're very helpful and beneficial to be a part of our life, but how can we appreciate them from in other ways? So I love that you asked that question.
Well, thank you. And yeah, like you said, that's part of tag. That's our A, acknowledging the appreciated. So we have T, think of all the good things in your life. A, acknowledge the appreciated. Then there's the G. I thought about, how can I give someone else a reason to be grateful? And in the hospital, I really couldn't do a lot. My job was to recover, so I did my best. But it was when I was discharged that I started taking action. I started going on runs again, and more like glorified walks at the beginning, but I was still picking up trash as I was going along my routes. I would eventually get to being strong enough to mow my own lawn again, and then I would mow the lawns of my neighbors, or in the wintertime, snow blow their driveways or their walkways. And then there's the classic opening a door for someone. And we sometimes limit what we can do for someone based on monetary gifts or monetary expenses, but there are so many things you can do to give someone a reason to be grateful, or even at least make them smile. One story I love telling is last year, my family and I went down to the Kansas City area to visit Becky's brother and his family. And we stayed in a hotel. And early one morning, I woke up for a run. And so I took off going into part of the town that we were in. And I'm passing this woman going the opposite way. And I see on her shirt, she has a pink shirt, and it says mischief managed. Now, do you have any idea what that means, Kelly?
No.
Have you ever read Harry Potter?
I haven't read Harry Potter, but I've watched some of
Or
the movies.
seen the movies?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, there is an item called the Marauder's Map that Fred and George Weasley give Harry, so he has access to all the rooms and he can see everyone in Hogwarts. Well, obviously that's a very powerful magical object, magical artifact that if someone found it, he can get in trouble. So if he ever wants to make it look like a normal piece of paper, he would say mischief managed, and all the ink disappears and turns to a regular piece of parchment. That's what she had on her shirt. So I'm going by her. I say, hey, great shirt. Thanks. We go on our way. Well, we both were apparently doing an out and back because we met each other almost in the same exact spot on the same road, heading back the other way. And I said, hey, have a great day. She said, she says, you too. And then I respond with, always. Another Harry Potter reference. I'm not going to spoil that one. You just have to watch the shows. And I'm sure any HP fans are going crazy because they know exactly what I'm talking about. But that's not the point of it. The point was she laughed so loud that I could hear her above the car that passed between us at that exact moment. And I don't know if she remembers that to this day. I don't think I'll ever see her again. But for that moment, unless she's a great actress and she was faking it, I was able to give her a smile and a laugh. And like I said before, Kelly, we don't know what journeys people are on a daily basis unless they explicitly tell us. And so who knows? Maybe she was having a fantastic day and that was just a cherry on top. Maybe she was having an awful day. And that laugh is just what she needed to kind of get her out of her doldrums. But by doing those acts of kindness and helping people get in touch with their gratitude, we never know how we can influence people. Maybe again, that moment meant nothing but a momentary laugh to her. Maybe it could have really changed her mindset for the day or even week. But we should be always trying to think of, how can I make someone smile, at least for that moment? How can I make that day better for them? And that's where the G comes into, giving others a reason to be grateful. Now, if you put that together, TAG, it spells tag. And I don't know about you, Kelly, but playing tag by yourself is boring and embarrassing. You're just going to have to trust me on this one. So it's important, it's imperative, in fact, that we involve as many people as we can. And so, share it with others, tell them about it, be an advocate for tag. When I go running sometimes, I will see people talking in their yards, and one time some guy yelled, "Hey, are you the guy who picks up trash and when he runs?" I didn't know anyone was looking. I said, "Yeah, I sometimes do that." "Hey man, thanks a lot." I had no idea that person was paying attention. But now I'm even more aware, because not only do I want to make my neighborhood more beautiful, I want to inspire others to do the same.
That's amazing. And I know because tag is like such an easy acronym to remember. I was like, what's the word? But I do know, and I love this concept that you came up, and when you talked about like people, there's one saying that I love, like the people come into your life for a reason, season, or lifetime. And I definitely, like, for you and I, we have crossed paths for so long that it's like one of those like lifetime things that, you watch over time how people grow and how you're able to impact lives in speaking and using tag. And I know your book came out. And that is just part of all the conversation that you have. And I love the fact. So if you haven't searched out Chris, but you should look, he wears a cape all the time when he goes and speaks. And that's just part of the superhero that you are today. And you show up for yourself and you show up for others, which is something that I absolutely love about you. And I know we're coming to the end and I could totally talk about this all day long, but I want to make sure that you share where people can find you if they want to reach out or they want to get your book.
Well, thank you very much, Kelly. And as always, it's an absolute pleasure of mine to chat with you and to connect with you. They can actually go to dot dot cards dot.cards /Chris DT Gordon. I have on there a link to my website, which is chrisdtgordon.com. I have links to my book. I have my YouTube channel, my Instagram. And for those who are able to see me present, I actually have a feedback form. I'm always willing to take feedback and hear what's resonating with people so I can become a better presenter. So you can go to dot.cards /Chris DT Gordon. You can find the book on Amazon. How to, from survivor to striver, how to, how gratitude can transform you to a superhero. For a second, I got tongue tied there. And you can get it on Amazon, or you can message me. I will send you a personalized autographed copy. And finally, if your business, school, organization is looking for someone to come in and present either live or virtually, let's connect. I want to help people as much as I can increase their positivity, gratitude, and resilience.
Amazing. And for those of you listening, it is Chris, CHRISDT Gordon, GORDON.com, that you can go to his website. And also, Chris, I am so thankful that you wanted to come back on and share your story and go through even more of tag and how that has been helpful for you in your life, but then also how you're really truly helping others in their life too.
Well, again, Kelly, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yay. All right, y'all. That was another amazing episode of the Make Mental Health Matters show. I love bringing back previous guests, because it's so cool to see where they were, where they are now, and then having these open conversations, because I truly believe that we can never have enough conversations about being grateful and how that attitude of gratitude can really change everything. I know it's definitely a practice that I have put into my life. And when I first heard about it, I was like, that probably doesn't really work. And then I started doing that. And interestingly enough, when you start to shift your mindset around gratitude and you start shifting your attitude and you're really looking at the things that you can help yourself and help others, and they don't even have to be big things. Like, that's the coolest part, I think, of all of it is, I always say you can be grateful for the toothbrush that you brush your teeth with in the morning, or maybe the roof over your head, or the couch, or the bed, or whatever those small things are. And I love how Chris said, even down to the nails or the screws that you put up pictures with, right? Like, there's something to be grateful for no matter what it is in your life, if you really truly start to think of it that way. And when you're starting to really shift into this positive place in your life, it just makes a whole difference. And that is the part that I hope you heard, and how you can use tag to be able to start to help yourselves or maybe help others around you, because you never know. Again, like Chris said, you never know what somebody is going through on that specific day. And if you happen to be that one reason that makes them smile or maybe laugh over the sound of a car or whatever it might be, you may have just changed whatever was happening during that day. And how cool would that be to be in that place as that person? So no matter what you do, make sure you come back next week. We go live every single Monday at 5 p.m. Mountain Time on E360 TV, or you can listen on Dream Vision 7 Radio at 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. by simply saying, Alexa, play Dream Vision 7 Radio. I'll see y'all next Monday.